If you've been watching over the past few weeks, you know I'm conducting a special series of interviews before I sign off as host of Greater Boston. The guests run the gamut. They're renowned experts, public officials, and personal friends, and they've all made an impact on this show and this community. Tonight, we've got an extra special edition in store, one I've been looking forward to. You know him as the polished, sophisticated connoisseur of Boston's cultural scene, but that wasn't always his beat.
I don't know why I'm here. I don't play video games, but I think they wanted to make a fool out of me, so they sent me. Designed a little quiz called Name That Player.
Mark Loretta.
No, that's 2 strikes. How big a fan are you? As for me, I didn't fall once the entire day. Jeez, we've brought your digital converter because we hear you need it. Do you watch my show, Greater Boston?
I watch Rooney all the time.
Well, I'm on that show.
You are?
And then the last line was, so much for your ego. All right. Some pretty rough assignments there, Jared.
Yeah, you don't even know my name. After 16 years, you don't even know my name.
I was gonna, read the rest of my thing, but you graduated from Emerson College and you started here in 1998.
Yep.
So right out of college, really. And I'm going to embarrass you a little bit because the person who recommended you told us that you were the best writer that had ever gone through that program. And my serious question to you is, how did that happen? I mean, you grew up in kind of a rural part of Massachusetts, in kind of a farm environment. Not that you don't get an education on a farm, but how did you get interested in writing?
None of my career, I think, makes sense whatsoever. I also didn't grow up in a home. I'm so nervous. I can't believe this. I also didn't grow up in a home with art, and there was no formal way for me to get into journalism. My story is so simple in that I've always just been really interested in storytelling. I love telling stories. That's why I loved covering news for so long, and the access it gave us, and the history that we got to see firsthand, what would become history. And I guess developed a facility for writing.
I mean, I actually always appreciate the fact that you had such a wide range. I kind of miss you in some of those other roles. You're a terrible skier, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
But I mean, I thought you had just a deft touch. That story you did with the guy connecting his rabbit ears to the new digital box was the sweetest thing.
But that was
ever.
Ridiculous. They sent me. I can't find my way out of a paper bag.
You did it for him.
And I hooked up his. Yeah. Well, it was sweet.
Yeah.
I love doing those stories, and I started out producing for you.
Yeah.
For
we
years
have some video of something, because we went to the Lion King together, and you were my producer. Oh, here we are. I don't know when this was. Early '90s, maybe.
This was
not early '90s, early aughts.
Yeah, this was right after the Opera House opened.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how I started, because I started producing the art stories for you.
Oh, and that's how you got interested. Because I actually try it. Oh, there I am with that stupid hat. I used to know a little bit more about art than you did, but that's no longer the case.
But now I've eclipsed
because my mother was an art history major, and she really, got me, sort of ingrained a sense of the arts into me. I mean, and now you've gone right past me.
Well, which has been fantastic. I mean, I love it because I'm a research nerd, so I love to consume, and that's all where that came from. But I mean, I will honestly say that fundamentally, I've always described you as my journalistic mother. I mean, you taught me everything about journalism. You taught me to be a cynic. I remember for years, stuff would happen. Somebody would be arraigned, and I'd think, oh no, the boyfriend couldn't possibly have killed his girlfriend, or this or that, and it always bore out. You just have an instinct for knowing from all your experience in news. And a lot of that filtered down, so it completely changed my news judgment. And you had a huge hand in my writing and my own interviewing skills. I was afraid of you for the first 2 years that I worked for you. Because I don't think you even liked me for the first 2 years that I worked for you.
You had sort of a flowery priesthood. We had to get rid of a little of that, the flowery. But you also spent a lot of time covering government and politics. You did some great profile work with some of the gubernatorial candidates, and as I said, I thought you always just had a facility, about people wanting to talk to you. There's something about you that, and you were tough a couple of weeks ago too on Malcolm Rogers. I mean, you've really, and that's your beat. Sometimes you worry about being tough on the people you cover. It's like being a sports reporter. You don't want to alienate the people because that's it. That's your beat.
I think it's all changed for me, honestly, because I think I'm very cognizant now, knowing that I'm the only person covering the arts on television anyway in this region.
Amazing.
So it's also a weighty responsibility. So, and I've gotten to know these people, and I think once you know them more, I find it easier to be harder on them, because they know that you're coming from a fair place, and it's not like I'm going all TMZ or just sensational on somebody. There are legitimate questions, and there are legitimate reasons that I'm asking them, and I think that they respect that. And if they don't, then that's their problem. I don't think I have to worry about that.
You know, when I was in local TV at Channel 5 in the 80s and early 90s, the arts were such an important and critical part of news coverage at every single station in town, from Dixie Watley, Sarah Edwards, of course, Joyce Cole-Haywick at Channel 4. Everybody knew them. Everybody knew their names. We used to wait for, for the black tie premieres or the opening symphony, and you turn on the 11 o'clock at news at night, and there they were in their gowns and sparkles, and it was like, it was a rich, rich environment, and that just has all gone away.
And I grew up in that environment. As you mentioned, I grew up in Massachusetts, so it's not lost on me that I'm now doing what all of those people did that I watched growing up, and it's tremendous to me that Joyce Cole-Haywick is now a colleague of mine, and we're on several associations together, and of course we have her on the show all the time. But I don't know where it changed, because I know that people, I get approached all the time from people who are watching our coverage, and they're so invested in the arts landscape here in and around Boston.
I always say to you, I don't know how you do it, because you go to these plays every night and theater, and I would have no patience for it at night. But I mean, what do you like most? Do you like the theater? Do you have an art collection now? What?
I have a growing art collection, which is nice.
What kind of stuff?
I'm not sure I should share what on the advice of counsel. I really love modern art.
Yeah.
The last piece I bought was a great piece of photography out in Wyoming, because you know that I've started going out there in the summers and really, really, really love it, because I ride. So I bought a great piece out there. I honestly, I love whatever I'm doing at the moment. I know that's such a cliched answer, but because I study so much, and I'm so excited about whomever I'm interviewing and whatever I'm seeing, that's what I love most.
Yeah, well, as I say, I don't know how you do it, because at night I don't want to go. I mean, maybe on a Saturday night I'll go to the theater, but not every night.
I feel like it's a discipline. You just train yourself. Yeah. That's how
we got to see it Unbroken today, though, so we got a sneak
we did.
peek. We're going to be talking about that on Monday.
And you've also become a really good friend, which is, I don't think, you know what, I think a lot of people do realize that from our demeanor.
We hang out. Jared Bowen, pleasure to have you as part of Emily's List.
Thank you.
All right. Well, during yesterday's Emily's List interview with former Attorney General Scott Harshbarger, we talked a little bit about what I'll be doing after I leave this chair. So Muriel wrote in all the way from Ontario, Canada with a